Hello, everybody. Welcome back to some, Ultra Vegito. Hopefully, our entries for this month. We are on, I'm rated that one, so we are on this one. 12 out of 23. We'll be doing the next four. Whatnot.
So last time on Dragon Ball Super, after 10 years of imprisonment and the subsequent reveal Earth was destroyed by the 11 gods of destruction, Vegito began the slaughter of the gods, starting with Lika and Helios, along with both their angels and even their children. Now in today's manga, the hunt continues as Vegito mysteriously finds himself at the home of Gawasu to do the unthinkable. But before we continue, today's video is sponsored like no other. You can Albert app today. Continues with Ultra Vegito having just arrived in the land of the Kais. Vegito's face still full of caution and confusion as he and Gawasu stand across from each other, peering at one another. Neither person has any idea who the other is after over a decade apart. All what has happened to bring the two to this divine and alien place. Time begins to tick along with the two still remaining silent, just feet away from each other. Vegito's fist, meanwhile, remains gripped, ready to end another god's life if the Kai proves hostile, while Gawasu remains with a noticeably more relaxed tone. Soon, a look of faint realization reaches Vegito's face as he says, "Wait! I know this Kai. He seems familiar, but from where? I can just about remember Shin's face, let alone another universe's Kai. But I've definitely seen this guy somewhere." Gawasu, meanwhile, looks stern at first, but as his brain puts things together, he relaxes a bit, looking more surprised than anything else, responding, "Wait a second, It's you! Vegito, the Potara fusion of Goku and Vegeta from Universe 7! My, it's been a long time, hasn't it?" Huh? He knows my name! Vegito struggles to think, as his mind now withered away from his 10 years imprisonment tries its best to keep up. He quietly wonders to himself, clearly struggling to remember and seeing flashes of himself and Jiren the Grey, a fight that never actually happened. But surely, the only way another universe's Kai would know of his existence. Why can't he remember? How does this universe's Kai know all this? It couldn't have been from the Tournament of Power, as we never fused during it. What's going on? Gawasu looks relieved, however, a kind look washing over his face as he happily approaches the man he considers both a distant friend and hero in service of the many gods of the multiverse.
Wow.
Vegito! My, it's been some time, hasn't it? Since you rid me of that upstart Zamasu and his alter ego Goku Black. To think, a Kai in training, my own student no less, would steal one of the sacred time rings to go back and forward in time, all for the sake of murdering mortals. Tell me, to what do I owe the pleasure of seeing you again? Gawasu, now comfortable, begins walking towards his would-be friend, saying, "Come inside, Vegito. Would you like any tea while you're here?" Now only inches away from the God Killer. Vegito's eyes suddenly widen as his face contorts from the memories rushing back all at once. He remembers, he sees the threat of Zamasu and Goku Black and what they did to Trunks' sad future and even more crucially, the box of time rings. Zamasu! Of course! This must be Universe 10! The universe Black came from. The same universe that houses the time rings. Could those rings allow me to go back in time before I killed Beerus? Now, almost in a show of multiple personality disorder, Vegito finds a way to throw on his best happy face. It's almost as if he's doing an impression of the happy-go-lucky fighter Goku once was before all of this tragedy. It was completely fake, of course, but for the sake of what he now needs from Gowasu, it will work perfectly. He walks over and greets Gowasu with a firm but polite handshake. Supreme Kai Gowasu, it's been a long time, my friend. It's so great to see you. Yeah, that Zamasu and Black situation sure was a crazy one. To think they managed to get rid of all the gods in Trunks' timeline. Monsters. But Gowasu, I've actually come on the orders of Beerus. You see, he needs to inspect the time rings once again. It seems there is yet another being on the loose looking to mess with time. If these rings are left in your possession, I'm afraid your life may be in danger, just like it was with Zamasu. But this time, if we act too slowly, no one will be able to save you. What? Gowasu, of course, is visibly shocked to hear this news, quickly realizing that this is no reunion of long-lost friends, but rather a warning of yet another Zamasu-level danger. With a look of shock, he asks, "Another threat? There's no way. Not again. The time rings are checked every morning. Nothing has changed. I'm sure of it. But if this is a matter of urgency, I'll bring them out if that is what Beerus desires. Tamoy! Bring the time rings at once!" As Gowasu then turns his head and yells out behind him. Vegito, understandably like us viewers, is visibly confused once again. As bad as his memory is, he definitely didn't remember anyone called Tamoy being here last time, and thinks, "Huh? Tamoy? Now who the hell is that anyway?" And while Vegito thinks, a set of feet eventually walk onto the scene behind Gowasu, as if at his command. And as the doors behind Gowasu swing wide open, a mysterious figure appears, beckoned in response to the Supreme Kai of Universe 10's orders. He's a stern-looking young man with an interesting cut of chin-length white hair and a scar over one eye. He's wearing the traditional garb of the gods in a deep navy that complemented his pale orange skin. Unlike Zamasu, it's clear this trainee was far different from the Kais that came before him, as he holds tightly onto the time ring box as if his life force was attached to it. There's a hardened look in his eyes as he stares at Vegito, but says nothing. Swiftly, Tamoy then walks over to his master Gowasu and hands off the box with both arms, confident nothing would be wrong as he reports, "Lord Gowasu, here are the rings as requested. I can assure you, they were checked just this morning, as they are every morning, sir." To which Gowasu responds, As I thought, but we shall prove it to our esteemed guest here to be sure." Hearing this, trainee Kai Tamoy then turns his attention to Vegito, as the fighter's steely and serious eyes meet. Vegito stares back at him, matching his intensity. Both are clearly assessing the threat level of the other without saying so. Whatever was left of Goku inside of Vegito definitely feels reminded of the vibes given off by fighters before a Tenkaichi Budokai tournament. Still staring, Vegito thinks, This guy, he looks like a Kai, but there's something strange about him. He doesn't look like he'd be as weak as Shin or Zamasu was. What is this strange feeling I'm getting? He might be a problem." Having seen enough, Tamoy then shows a glimpse of concern and turns to his master for guidance, inquiring, "Lord Gowasu, as much as I respect your wishes and commands, Who exactly is this visitor we have before us? I do not believe him to be who you think he is. He smells of blood. The blood of gods, in fact.
Yep.
What? Vegito's heart drops as he hears this inference, but tries to hide the look of shocked concern on his face as he obviously panics on the inside. An inner version of himself then meanwhile though can't help but scream and shout, "Now who the hell is this? I knew something was off about him. Does he really know what I've been doing? This is going to get ugly in a second if Gowasu catches on too." Gowasu, though somewhat obliviously, can only sense the tension in the air between the two rather than hearing what Tomoe is actually saying, sweating profusely before smiling like there's no trouble at all in an attempt to reassure everyone, including himself. Then saying, "Oh Tomoe, you truly are an untrusting one, aren't you? You must excuse him, Vegito. It is something we are working on. Tomoe, this is no ordinary visitor. He is in fact Vegito, the legendary warrior who stopped your predecessor, Zamasu, from his evil activities. A fusion of Universe 7's two strongest Saiyan warriors, Goku and Vegeta." Tomoe, though, seemingly unimpressed and potentially still unconvinced, proceeds to look Vegito up and down. He still doesn't trust him, but he lets out, Saiyans, I see." Gowasu, now pleased he has calmed the situation down, then points his hand to Tomoe and introduces him properly, politely and formally to their strange house guest, saying, "Vegito, this here is Tomoe, my newest Supreme Kai apprentice, an ideal candidate I've been training for years now. He harbors no darkness in him as Zamasu did, and as I'm sure a talented fighter of yourself can probably sense, he has also made a name for himself as the strongest Kai in the known history of our kind." Hearing this proclamation, though, just results in a smirk coming across Vegito's face, as he disrespectfully plays with his angel staff in his hands and lets out, "Oh really? Well, good for him. Can't say being the strongest Kai equates to much really though. But you're right, I can tell just from looking at you that you're a little different to the rest. Anyway, let's get down to business. Let me see those time rings before Beerus is angered." Gowasu, reacting quickly to the possible reprimand of Lord Beerus, instantly complies, saying, "Yes, certainly, I'll open them now." The older Kai then grabs hold of the box before opening it right in front of Vegito, and inside, as expected, are 6 time rings, a brand new one having been created after the Zamasu incident that had caused Trunks' move to another timeline, with himself. It was a rare break in the rules where the gods had decided to look the other way. Vegito, meanwhile, gets a good look at the rings, and a large grin can't help but form on his face in response, as once again he tries to maintain his cool. The inner version of himself yells, "Yes, this is exactly what Black used. Amazing. 6 rings capable of allowing me to move back and forward in time. I think I'll go for the silver one, like old Black himself." With his goal now in sight, and possibly a way to undo everything that's happened so far, Vegito reaches out his hand eagerly towards the rings with a crazy grin, as he finally says, "Yes, Gowasu, just as I thought. It seems like there may be a problem here, as one time ring has gone missing yet again. Look, it's missing right here." But before he can reach the box of rings, a hand mysteriously grabs onto Vegito's wrist. Vegito looks towards the person who would dare to stop him, yelling, Why, you damn Kai! Thinking it would be Tomoe, but instead, it is revealed to be none other than Rumsshi, the god of destruction of Universe 10, standing tall and staring angrily at Vegito while Gowasu stands behind in a mixture of fear and confusion. Gowasu calls out, "What? What is the meaning of this?" While Rumsshi responds, "You grow too trusting, Gowasu. You can't even spot a demon when you see one."
Yeah.
Vegito looks at him angrily, his plan now
Yep.
seemingly foiled, and no less by one of the very few beings who already took everything he ever loved from him, as he lets out, "You! So I finally had one of you cowards come to me, instead of the other way around. How perfect! Saving me the time it will take to destroy you. But let go of my hand if you don't want your death to be slow and painful, elephant." Huh? Gowasu meanwhile is shocked to hear these words come out of the hero Vegito's mouth. It doesn't take him long from these words to then realize that his understudy Tomoe was right. Something was wrong, and he gasps, "No, Vegito, did you just threaten to destroy a god? What is going on here? Lord Rumsshi, I'm sorry." Rumsshi, though, just has a stone-cold face as he stares down Vegito. There's no fear there. Despite the stories of what Vegito had done to the other gods, it's either a sign that this god is just as stupid as the others, or on a whole new level of power. Confidently, he lets out, "To think, filth like you was capable of erasing both liquor and Hellenes, let alone Beerus. Your amateur senses could not even detect me coming here to stop you. That's how far your evil desires to steal one of these time rings has corrupted you and weakened you. You should have always known. Now that you were on the run, there would never be a time you could let your guard down. Especially as long as I lived, God Killer." With one arm behind his back, Rumsshi continues his cold stare down of Vegito, who is frozen in place by the god's sudden presence. And Rumsshi explains, "Gowasu, in your old age, your discernment of good and evil has wavered. It's high time Tomoe took over. This Vegito before you is not the one you once knew. This beast is someone entirely different. Something that should no longer exist." Rumsshi, having said this, then raises his palm up in front of Vegito's face, readying an attack that both Goku and Vegeta had seen up close several times before. Vegito, in an act of pure defiance and bravery, stares back at the face of Erasure without flinching, both silent but knowing what comes next. Until Rumsshi finally yells, "Kai!" Vegito's mouth opens wide as he begins to be erased from reality forever. His feet already having been erased and quickly moving up his body, this is no joke or illusion. Ultra Vegito, under the power of the veteran god of destruction Rumsshi, is being erased from the universe for eternity. Tomoe watches intently, deep in thought and not remotely pleased to be witnessing this ability in person. As a Kai, Gowasu had been teaching him to treasure life in all its forms. This was the opposite of that, and his response is, "So, this is the power of a god of destruction. Hakai. Complete erasure. What a truly scary ability to be at the end of. Poor mortal. I know not what he did exactly, but I trust in Rumshi's judgment." And just like that, only moments later, Vegito's entire body has been completely erased and reduced to nothing but fine particulate matter that disappears into the air. Rumsshi stands there unaffected, calmly placing his arms behind his back, knowing his job is now done. Gowasu and Tomoe are stood there also, unsure how exactly to react to what just happened, other than to be in a state of shock and awe. A faint smile then comes across Rumshi's face, clearly pleased with himself as he says, "Haha, to think they used to call Beerus one of the strongest gods of destruction next to Jin. I never believed it for even a second. And today, I know I was right to have those doubts. This was no foe that could challenge me, and Beerus disgraced himself by allowing defeat to the likes of him. At the end of the day, this traitor was just another mortal. He is no god like us, and is thus fallible to the desires of greed and evil that come so easily to their pathetic kind." Rumsshi then turns to Gowasu and looks sternly at the aged custodian of Universe 10, continuing, "Gowasu, enough with your trusting attitude. I want you to put those time rings away and never again bring them out unless you have my..." What? Suddenly, Rumsshi is left extremely shocked as he looks into the small box that Tomoe had brought out earlier. It's a worst case situation, and the box of time rings is now completely empty. Every single one, all 6, have seemingly disappeared as if erased too, along with Vegito. Gowasu is instantly taken aback and starts to panic as he looks around the nearby area in desperate hopes that they just fell out of the box and are on the floor somewhere. He reacts, "What? It can't be! The time rings, they're gone! Every single one! Tomoe, did you see what happened?" But before Tomoe has any time to answer, Gowasu, Tomoe, and Rumsshi look up towards the skies, sensing a phenomenal and terrifying godly apparition. "My god! Lord Gowasu, what is that? No, it can't be!" As in the sky, a dark portal suddenly opens, and out of it jumps Ultra Vegito, smirking, covered in a dark electricity, with both his arms stretched out. In one arm is his angelic staff, and the other his Godslayer energy blade, ready to take its next life. As Vegito smiles, he calls out, "Rumsshi, your time has come!" What on earth? But Rumsshi, knowing all too well what's coming next, then immediately begins to dash away and commands the others, "Run! He's on the attack!" And just as Rumsshi had predicted, Vegito's Godslayer blade extends suddenly so far, it cuts through the very earth of the planet itself, rapidly reaching the trio of gods as if heat-seeking. As Rumsshi shouts out one final time, "Move it! Now!" And just like that, Tomoe and Rumsshi with speed both dodged the powered-up blade at the very last second. But unfortunately, Gowasu, in his old age, was not so agile. And standing there, paralyzed in shock, and now clearly split in two from the attack of Vegito, Gowasu remains, now put to rest 10 years after Zamasu attempted the same thing.
Wow.
As his body begins to split into 2 pieces, the box of empty time rings falls from his hand sadly, and his student Tomoe can only watch on in sorrow, yelling, "Master Gowasu! No! Please, no!" But alas, nothing can save Gowasu, as the parts of his body then fall to the ground with a thump before the shell-shocked Tomoe and Rumsshi. Vegito, with one victim gained, then lands to the ground, his face smirking as if he's accomplished a goal, remaining silent. Until, as his body slowly rises up, he begins to laugh.
Just wow. Wow.
Still looking for those time rings, fools? As Vegito then reveals himself with his arms crossed and most shockingly wielding all 6 time rings. Not only has Ultra Vegito escaped destruction somehow at the hands of a god, but also escaped with the very objects they thought they had protected. Rumsshi, meanwhile, is caught off balance by the sudden re-arrival of Vegito. Ironically, he looks like he had just seen a ghost he had sent to the afterlife himself. He asks, You took all the time rings? How are you even alive? This can't be reality!
It is.
But in response, Vegito can't help but just maniacally laugh victoriously. You gods really all are as dumb as each other. I think I'll call you Dumbo the elephant from now on. After all, you made sure to give me that silly monologue about how my greed made me get complacent in not sensing you. But what you didn't realize is that your supposed surefire victory made you complacent over just what I'm truly capable of.
True.
And with a maniacal smile that would make Frieza proud, Ultra Vegito begins explaining exactly what had gone down just before his appearance. You really thought I didn't know you were going to try and grab me? You must truly think you're dealing with one of the weaklings in your universe. In reality, as soon as you even began to reach for my hand, I went into Ultra Instinct instantly and moved at the speed you fools could only dream of. In that moment, I went and grabbed all 6 rings and moved my hand back just so you could grab me and grow cocky. The look on your face when you thought you had destroyed me. How funny it would have been to see. What? Rumsshi, hearing this explanation, still can't accept it as truth. Not that it matters, because as he complains, he's already beginning to fade away. Nevertheless, he continues, No, you're bluffing. You're just a mortal. I caught you off guard. I destroyed
Okay, bye.
you. You should be the one disappearing right now, not me! But adding salt to the wound, Vegito responds, Oh, you damn fool! I told you I wanted you to grab me. That means I wanted you to Hakai me too. I wanted to feel that pain. After 10 years of constantly feeling it, I now live for it, now that I'm free of it. I crave it. You do realize, I too can control destruction energy. I could have reversed your own Hakai at any time. But then, I wouldn't have been able to test out the time rings. The second before I was completely erased, I made sure to use the power of the time rings to escape into the past. And just when I felt your cocky kind would let your guard down, that is when I decided to come back and strike. And now, it's time for you to say goodbye, Dumbo. Leaving the now halfway erased Rumsshi, he just yell in anger, pain, and bitterness. You damn God Killer! As the God of Destruction of Universe 10 now also disappears for eternity. With yet another God of Destruction down, Ultra Vegito smiles with his eyes closed, like he's at peace for a moment before letting out calmly. God Killer. They say that like I don't get a buzz out of being called that. 3 down and only 8 left to go. Regardless of having these time rings or not, I won't rest until this timeline's gods are erased first. My pain and suffering happened in this timeline. so my wrath will start here too.
Then you're gonna go back and erase them?
But suddenly, Vegito is interrupted as he senses a huge spike in power and looks to his right thinking, what the? This power increase, could it be? And standing there powered up with electricity and dust clouds moving rapidly around him is the Supreme Kai student, Tomoe. Completely enraged, unlike a Kai, at the death of his master and universe's Hakaishin. He yells,
Wow.
Mortal! You have dared to kill not only Master Gowasu, but Lord Rumsshi too! And now, by my hand, as the new Supreme Kai of Universe 10, I will not let their deaths be in vain. Prepare to die, you foul demon! Leading to Tomoe rushing in straight away at Vegito.
Man, I
Anger in
look
his
like I'm not
face
paying
as he
attention,
only
but I
sees
actually
one
am.
goal,
Don't worry.
and that is to stop the God Killer. And to our great surprise, Tomoe actually lands flush on Vegito's chin, sending his head snapping back with force and dramatically. Pleased with himself, Tomoe smiles still covered in electricity and says, Ha! I did it. A direct hit. For the sake of Universe 10, I will take care of this mess. But Vegito remained silent, his head still knocked back, but not groaning or any movement in his body until... With a shockingly swift snapback of his head, he returns with a crazy smile and look on his face, now in his ultra ego form, gaining power from that attack rather than damage. Not bad, would-be Kai. Not bad at all. I bet if Majin Buu had come to your universe, you would have actually stopped him. But allow me to show you what true strength is. After all, I guess you are a deity now too, aren't you? Wouldn't be fair if I didn't let you join the rest of your godly friends. With that said, Ultra Vegito then begins powering up ferociously as streams of dark flames become visible in the air as the planet itself shakes. Before, unbelievably, in a callback to when Goku fought Moro, Ultra Vegito rises into the air, now surrounded by a giant energy version of himself, dwarfing Tomoe below him. Tomoe, meanwhile, can only watch in utter fear from below. He's frozen in shock, completely scared for the first time in his long life. Outclassed and out of his league against the unstoppable force that is Vegito, he doesn't know what to do and just mutters, Majin Buu? Vegito, inside the safety of his giant apparition, smiles down at Tomoe, enjoying the sense of powerlessness this god now has, and comments one last time, Goodbye, supremely disappointing Kai. And with that, the giant version of Vegito raises its foot as the world shakes under its movement, casting a shadow over the waiting Tomoe like a deer caught in headlights, who can't even say a word before... Instantly, Supreme Kai Tomoe is crushed under the power and weight of Vegito. Where there once was a proud and regal god, now remained nothing more than a bloody mess on the floor. But that was it for today's video, guys, and if you made it this far, leave me a hashtag.
That was awesome. Hopefully the next one is even better. We'll see. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and we'll see you in a bit. Or should I say Tuesday?